Hey guys, it's Voltaire. For those of you that follow me or know me, you know that I have been covering pageants for the past several years and I'm highly involved in the pageant industry. Now last night, some of my friends sent me this link to what claims to be an investigative report, but I use that very loosely because you can only be an investigative report when you present all sides to the issue and when you go into something where you have a preconceived conclusion even before you've begun to edit the report. That's not presenting the truth. They try to tell themselves that they're uncovering the hard truths, but how can it be the truth when you're only presenting one side, and that side is the side of the disgruntled and bitter pageant contestants who have probably, in retrospect, felt they made the wrong choices. I get that not everybody are into pageants or like pageants to begin with, but you also have to respect the people that do love and support pageants, particularly the women that participate in it. You can't claim to be protecting their rights when you're essentially stepping on their right to dream and to be in pageantry. Here's my thing. When a superstar athlete commits indiscretions or a crime, people don't blame the entire sport of basketball, boxing, or golf. They blame that person. When an executive from a Fortune 500 company commits white-collar crimes, they don't try to put the blame on the entire financial industry or the corporate world. They blame that person. So why is it that when one or two displaced, disgruntled ex-candidates relay their experiences, why is it that the entire pageant industry is vilified? Now, think about this. The one person who should be vilified should be the sexual predator, the people who make the indecent proposals. Those are the ones that are at fault, not the organization or not the industry in general. That's just completely ridiculous. That's almost like saying that you're going to blame an entire family or clan of a murderer when there's only one person who committed the crime. It doesn't make sense. There's no logic to that. So for this report to try to be and go in that direction just goes to show me that they don't have the journalistic integrity or even integrity to begin with. And it was a very cowardice approach because they presented themselves to the people that were part of the interview and they presented themselves to the pageant organizations as reputable news organizations that were there to help promote the pageant. But they went in there with a very different pretense, and it was, I would think, almost deceitful with the way that they handled it, because the very people that they're trying to so-called protect, they've actually put these women, these camps also, in a very precarious predicament where they didn't sign up for that. They signed up for something completely different, and yet they're being portrayed in a very different light. Let's take one step back and talk about the people who were interviewed, the so-called victims. You know, I wouldn't call these people victims. I'd say that the proper term for them would be an accomplice. If you were coerced or forced to do things that you did not want to do, then you're a victim. And the people who were responsible for this should be persecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But when you go choose something to participate in it because you know you're going to gain something from it, whether that you're not a victim. You are somebody who made a choice to do that. Again, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that you have that right to choose. But take responsibility for that choice. The people that I saw in the interview were not taking responsibility for the choices that they made. let's say in that moment they thought it was right, and then years later they thought like, oh, maybe that was not a right choice. But that doesn't take away the responsibility on them. It doesn't also make the pageant the bad person. Nobody's bad. Not the pageant, not the candidate. It's just the sexual predator that went in there, infiltrated, quote unquote, infiltrated them. And you made that choice to deal with that sexual predator. With the case of Janina San Miguel, I don't know when she was interviewed if she was told exactly what the whole piece was about. My guess is she wasn't. But regardless of that, you know, I'm happy that she was able to overcome and survive whatever trials that she had at that period, at that point in her life. She had the strength to walk away from these bad elements. And kudos to that. I'm happy that she's happily married and that she also has a relatively normal life right now. That's all well and good. But whether you knew what the interview was about or not, doesn't give you the right to put down an entire industry simply because of what you had gone through. Because you also have to think and respect the experiences of the women, the thousands and hundreds of women that have benefited from this industry. And there's plenty of them. Here's the thing. From the very beginning of the world, good and bad people coexisted. And they will continue to coexist for as long as the world is there. Every individual has the right and the ability to choose how they deal with the good and the bad. It's not about right or wrong. It's about taking responsibility and putting the blame on the right entity. Look, the world of pageantry isn't perfect. But then again, what is? One thing's for sure is that pageantry has inspired and motivated young men and women all over the country to turn their life around and to dream big. Pageantry has time and again uplifted the morale of the Filipino people and has brought great pride to the country. It has benefited positively not only the women, the candidates, but their teams, their families, their towns, their communities, their provinces, and the country altogether. For as long as pageantry continues to do this, I feel that it will always be relevant and something that we should all support. And I invite anyone who doesn't believe in that to get to know somebody in the pageant industry and to get to know the industry better and see it from our side, from our heart, and from our eyes. If you do that, I'm pretty sure that you're going to have a very positive impression of what the pageant world is about.